We'll talk a little bit about what's happening with Disrupt Ops. Tell us a little bit about some of the things you're doing with RSA, kind of the human element theme.
Yeah, so it was interesting this year because I started off on the program committee and predominantly for the cloud virtualization track. And the first thing that was great about this year was as the submissions were coming in, myself and my co-chair, this guy named Sean Harris, we're looking at this and we're like, this is really like solid material. And I can't, let's be honest, I can't always say that. Sometimes we get inundated with vendor garbage and we try and weed all of that out. Like the conference actually cares. They don't want vendor stuff in here.
Pitch in there, yeah.
And we got great content. And what was interesting though is the one thing that we wanted that wasn't addressed was around the human element piece, not because we even cared about the theme, but because like that's the big problem is skills and staffing for my area, our area, which is cloud security. And so we managed to recruit this guy, Brian Riley from Liberty Mutual, who's going to talk on that specifically and how they adjusted their program. So like it started before RSA, and then I ran training for a couple of days, so for the Cloud Security Alliance, what we call the CCSK training. So it's 2 days, and we had about 32 people, I think, was the roster in the room, and just kind of running them through the standard training. And it's always fascinating at RSA because the very first beta version of that class we did here. It was a 1 day. It was like 2008 or 2009 maybe. Oh, no, dude, that was not.
Talk about a live beta.
It's not good.
Lots of words we could probably use to describe that.
We put so much work into this, and the class collapsed in like every imaginable way. It was so early for cloud. Like you couldn't even use the Amazon console. You had to use like plugins in your browser.
How long ago was that? Do you remember?
It was around 2009,
okay,
I think maybe.
Say, that was early on in cloud.
Yeah. Early days, and we had all these people in the room. Nobody knew what they were doing, and we barely knew what we were doing. And then they didn't like wire the desk with power, so we had to call Moscone, and it was $3,000 because it's to get the power strips laid out. So that was that was fun. Then I roll in this year. I don't prepare because I've taught this thing a zillion times. The course material works. Like we've just got a room full of people like leisurely going through 2 days. But it is interesting because the biggest problem we have in cloud security and in DevOps stuff as well is skills and staffing. Like we just can't get enough of the right people, and everyone here was there to learn that. Honestly, I can't even say that the skill level is appreciably greater than it was those 10 years ago because this is such a drawn out transition that there's just not enough people, and even though people know cloud's a thing, like something's got to bridge them across. So that was pretty interesting. And then I did a presentation on cloud kill chains with Sean Harris, my co-chair for the track. So we finished that up this morning. Now it's just a bunch of meetings and for the rest of the time.
More meetings. I'm curious, do you see any change in trend of the people that might come for the Cloud Security Alliance training? You're seeing more software engineers, DevOps people showing up, or still pretty much more kind of cloud architects, network engineers? Is that shifting at all?
The demographics are interesting, and I don't always have the best sense because I'll do like some trainings for private companies or for major events like RSA and Black Hat, examples of these big events. So I'm not like an everyday trainer who's doing it every week, but we really get a really diverse group. So in the beginning, I ask, how many people here are hands-on cloud security people, and a few hands go up, but most of them are going to like the Amazon trainings and such, not of fundamentals, unless they want the certification. A lot of auditors, a lot of management executive types, where in the early days, like nobody knew what they were doing. There's nobody ever with a cloud title, with a cloud role. So I'm seeing more of those. And I think the sweet spot for like this particular class, like we have advanced classes, you don't want to touch that unless you've been doing this for real for 2 years. Like you're just not going to make it through the training. But the sweet spot for this one is we can present the material in a way for kind of executives and auditors, the ones that don't need the hands-on but want to get a taste of it. We get developers who want to learn security principles, and we get security people who've never touched cloud that want to learn cloud. And that tends to be kind of the bulk of at least the ones that I've seen lately, is kind of in those 3 or 4 categories.
I want to throw something out to you, see if you agree, and you're welcome to disagree if you do.
You're wrong.
Exactly. I'm always wrong, especially in different parts of my life. But that's a different story.
No. You ignorant. Not going to finish the sentence.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that, there's all this talk now about how quickly CISOs are turning over in organizations. It's kind of become the same joke that CIOs were a while back. And my premise is that I think leadership roles like a CISO, like a CIO, are requiring much more technical chops. You need to know software, you need to know security, you need to know software architecture, how it's built. It's not just a kind of leadership planning, let's stick a business person into this role for the CISO or the CIO for a while. You agree with that? You think I'm on base?
No, I do, and I have always thought one of the biggest problems we've had was for some reason, for a while, the CISO role became a management position that somebody else from some places put in with zero security experience.
Kind of just risk management, but
Yeah.
maybe not even that. It's
Sometimes
a
finance,
good manager, right?
CIOs, or not even CIOs, but sometimes not even like technical positions. Well, they're good managers, so they can run the team. And that trend, I still see it, but I'm absolutely seeing what you are, which is the demands are hitting the point where I'm starting to see more technically competent CISOs. I will say I think we're still on the early trend of that, because I don't know, tell me what you think. I think I kind of noticed, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
When we first got into security, the whole CISO role was a new, just being created, and it seemed to be that because of that dynamic you just mentioned, the track to get to be the CISO was to be less technical and more policy, reporting, more of those project management soft skills.
Relationship with the C-suite, getting funding for projects, all important things, but not enough for today.
So that became the aspirational goal, where we had technical security professionals. Well, I can't be the network engineer. I have to be non-technical if I want to advance. And then, and I haven't seen it fully swinging back, but I am encountering more very competent CISOs today than I was 5 years ago, for sure.
Well, it made me think of that question I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned managers, leaders going to the Cloud Security Alliance training. And maybe that'll be more of a trend. I mean, I hope so.
We've actually gotten requests. So within the working groups of the CSA, those that were managing the training program stuff, a bunch of the on the street instructors have said, hey, we need a one day just for executives with no technical, no labs, just they just have no idea what the impact of this is in their organization. And it's frequently people like the CISOs who want that, because they're having trouble explaining it to their non-technical management. You can't just take all your stuff and throw it into the cloud. It just doesn't work.
I think there's also, assuming things do become more technical with leaders, there is still that translating it. I don't need to educate you about security to be able to communicate with other business people about what's important. So that's still a key concept. Let's shift to disrupt topics. Tell us a little bit of what's happening in your world. And I know you're always cooking something back there.
So we've got some pretty cool stuff on the technology side, on the company side, some things that I hope we'll be able to say publicly here pretty soon. That's wink, wink, nudge, nudge. People can figure some of that stuff out. So thinking of the people, the human element stuff, what's kind of interesting is we just happened to, so to lay it out, we are a cloud security operations platform. And the main thing we do that's different is automation. So we're not an assessment tool, although we can do some assessments. We're not a reporting tool. We got some of that in there. The real key to us is that you can use us to fix things in your environment that are broken. So some of it could be based on our assessments or somebody else's assessments, and we can do it automatically. And we've always had the ability to do it interactively, so we can generate issues where if you want the person to look at it, you can and click through. And we realized as we were going out there and early to the market that, what a lot of people were really interested in, we were having security teams tell us, we can't make changes on these cloud projects ourselves. So we have all these assessment tools, and they're giving us a list of vulnerabilities we can't patch, basically, configuration errors that they can't actually fix. We don't have the authority to do that. We go, okay, we're an automation platform. We got some ideas here. So the cool thing is that we're just starting to show up this week is where you can get an issue that and it can be one of a couple of things. It could be something that one of our assessment features found. It could be an event directly from the cloud provider. So we have an event-driven architecture. It's like a guard duty finding or a security hub finding in Amazon, or the equivalent from the Azure Security Center on the Azure side. Take those events, take those misconfigurations that we find, or the real-time events, and then actually push it based on policies and filters and everything, push it as a Slack message down to the actual project team. Pops up in Slack with the list of actions. Click, pick the drop down, boom, remediated. Wow. And so it's all about trying to democratize security. Our friend Wendy Nather was talking about that in her keynote today. She's like, put the hands back into, so of course like I'm cheering in the crowd, because I'm like, we just did that.
Yeah, we have something to show you.
Yeah, we never told anybody about it. But, and really being able to, support overburdened security teams who they need that oversight and visibility and policy and control to some degree, but then it's really the application owners and the developers that can actually be the ones to do the fix. But instead of just generating a report and throwing it at them where it goes in their backlog, it literally pops up and they can just click right then and there because we have all the actions built in to fix these things. So that's the exciting thing we're kind of talking about
awesome.
this week.
I can't wait to see it. I'd love to come check it out too. You mentioned democratization of security. That's another big theme, kind of informally, that's emerged out of RSA. We talk about democratization of software and IT.
Well, we might as well have democracy and security because we don't in America anymore.
Okay. Well, we'll do a podcast on that one, but I'm not sure how far I want to go down that road.
Too soon.
But yeah, it is too soon. That democratization also means not only giving up control, but also creating trust between people, between organizations, using less of the boundaries and the whose role is it and all that kind of stuff. So software developers may be the people that are pushing the Slack, message, not just security people, right?
Well, and that's a big part of this. So it's so weird how some of this ties back. Chris Hoff and I presented here together like 12 years ago or something, and one of the things that and actually he identified, not me, is that one of the problems in security was lack of trustable automation. And to this point, we still have some of that. And so when we talk democratization of security, I don't see it as security just giving up all control, because kind of the way we're trying, at least, that we're thinking about it and trying to design it, is because security is still accountable and responsible for this. So how do we enable security teams to know what's going on and be able to set policies, and if need be enforce policies, but the day-to-day handling of it goes to the people that are like right there. Like security's not going to know which of our 5 supported actions always is the best one.
Right.
But the app team's going to know. Security's not going to know what's going to break something. The app team will. So that's kind of why we design it, where security has their overview and they set the rules, and there's a lot of freedom. Focus on outcomes, on solving the problem, not generic policy. It's like, how can we actually make sure we push that out? And there's like other little nuances, like, okay, give them a 3-day window to fix it, or give them an exemption but expired in 30 days. Like there's all these different nuances to make sure this works, because it has to fit how that organization works. It has to fit how those teams work. But it's not just democratizing as in security saying, oh no, it's your responsibility now. It's still our responsibility, but we're going to give you the tools to do this, but we'll still have the ability to bring in the hammer if it really is needed, if something really bad happens. So it's like the event-driven piece. If we get an event of certain kinds of breaches, those need to be automated fixes, because the attackers, by the time a human looks at it, it's too late. I have an attack generator I use in training classes. The whole thing runs in 30 seconds, and some of the students, it takes them 2 weeks to clean it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It seems like also software architecture, cloud native, microservices, service mesh, we have much more porous architectures. They aren't all kind of wrapped in a outer shell that you could protect with a host-based IPS or something. Now there's so much more inside the applications themselves that app knowledge is critical to be able to make the right decisions.
A couple years ago, I started saying that cloud security starts with architecture and ends with automation. And it goes right to what you just said. It's all about, because, and here's the thing, I call it abusing the shared responsibilities model, because the architectures are very different, as you just highlighted. And it's not, you can't bubble it on a network. It just doesn't work anymore. and with different kinds of platform services and stuff that could potentially be public. But on the other hand, the cloud providers are guaranteeing a certain level of security. When you get those, that's their commitment within that shared responsibilities model. But a lot of security people come into cloud and they don't trust the cloud provider's control, so they layer their own stuff, and it's very expensive, and they use bad architectures that are put in place to meet some security requirement written by somebody that doesn't understand cloud. So yeah, I'm right with you. I think the more we can leverage the inherent security capabilities of the cloud platforms we run on, and they're all different, then that's taking advantage of, we're already paying for that, and it's part of the shared responsibilities model, so let's get our benefits out of it. And then we layer our own aspects of it, and we do have to look at architectures in a whole new way right now. Yeah.
Kind of circles all the way back to what we talked about at the leadership level. Security people knowing software architectures, software people knowing security technology.
I wish I could name like some of these CISOs, and a bunch of them are the ones that we're friends with, or I'm friends with, some of them you don't even know. And the ones that are super successful like these days, like I know ones of very large organizations, very prominent brands who are like, they're top notch, like they know their stuff. People don't slip, and they're not going to be the expert on every piece of technology, obviously, but that understanding helps them figure out focus and not drag the sins of the past into the future.
It's always fun to talk to you. Enjoy.
This is like casual.
Like where do we start the beer? Get something poured. We could stay here for.
I know. Yeah, people
hours.
don't know. Like we hang out, or not as much as we have in the past. But when we have the chance, like this is what we talk about.
We'll get to do that
sad.
tomorrow night at the Security Bloggers meetup.
Yeah, definitely.
That'll be good. Everybody then. Well, tell Mike and Jody and the team at Disrupt Ops for us hello.
Absolutely.
Always good to see them. I bet I will get to see them tomorrow too. So.
Yep, I'll be there.
It's awesome.
Thanks,
great
Rich.
work.
This is great.
It's God's work. Keep it up. Good stuff you're doing. No, I really mean it. You are a major contributor, and I'm very thankful for how you've helped cloud security, all of that, helping progress and helping other people, not just yourself.
I don't do it for free, so don't thank me
don't.
too much. But.
Well, okay, you're coin operated, but we get it. We all are at some point.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rich Mogul, CISO with Disrupt Ops.
Coding is no longer just about creating new and innovative features. AppSec is a top priority, and agile organizations are looking for ways to win at security without slowing down their release cycles. This means reconfiguring our mindset and shifting security as far left as possible, the coding phase. Join us at the Secure Coding Virtual Summit by WhiteSource on April 23, 2020. Hear from industry-leading practitioners, analysts, and thought leaders from the AppSec and cybersecurity realm as they share their insights, principles, and best practices to achieve better, secure software. Visit securecoding.com for more information and to register.
Thanks very much, Mitchell. That was great. Well, guys, that's going to call it a wrap on our Tuesday show here. Tuesdays are always a little long because we're lucky enough to have John Willis with us. He'll be back next Tuesday. But we have a great lineup of content for the rest of this week. Don't miss it. Hope to have you on here. I didn't mention, hey, do join the Slack channel. It's if you go to TechStrong.tv, you get an invite from there, and you can join Slack. It's TechStrongTV.slack.com. We'd love to hear your suggestions, comments, whatever you want to tell us there. But look, until tomorrow then, hey, stay safe, stay well, stay strong. TechStrong TV, we're out.